It's Saturday, September 22nd, 2012. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report.
Change, 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 change. Too strong, I'm headed to you. Change, 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 change.
Card-carrying member of the media, so I'm guilty as charged, just like everybody else. What am I talking about? The replacement officials. Now, I want to know what kind of job they're doing. I know that they've lost control of certain games at certain times. I know the games are going longer. But the Associated Press had information on how they're officiating these games as far as the number of calls, because we're worried about player safety, right? Everybody's worried about player safety. Now, the number of penalties is slightly down, 15.2 to 14.7. There have been 75 player safety penalties, personal fouls, quarterback roughing, etc. this year. Now, that's one more than last year after the first 2 weeks. They're calling more defensive pass interference overall. 51 from 48 last year. Now, the defensive backs actually committing a lot more fouls, but they are calling more pass interference calls. Interesting part on instant replay. It's up 16%. Reversals are way down. They're getting the calls right. So who's driving this? Is the media? No negotiations going on. Media's got to talk about something. Got to be an angle here. Now, I can complain just like everybody else. Ratings aren't down. People still care about the game. Media's railing on this, the integrity of the game, and the image of the game. It's media-driven. I just wanted people to grade the officials on the actual calls that they're making. Do I think that they're the substitute teachers? Yes, I pointed that out. The players are trying to intimidate, which I told you they would and the coaches would. That's what you have going on right now. But how are they officiating the game? Are they making mistakes? Yeah. You know, is there time running off the clock? Or are they, the wrong spot? Yes. But they're calling more calls, penalties of what we want, right? We're protecting the players. Pass interference, roughing the quarterback, instant replay. When they use it, pure reversals. Actually doing better. The Golden Tate hit, he got fined. They didn't call it, but the NFL went in and fined him. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I just wanted people to actually grade the officials on the calls that they're making. Now, do I have a problem with the call with the Ravens-Eagles game? Absolutely. It should have been pass interference on the Eagles. Nnamdi Asomugha was not in position. He had his hand up first, and it should have been a touchdown, in my opinion. That was a missed call. How many other missed calls do we have? I think we're looking at the lack of control during a game and the pace of the game, and therefore they're not doing a good job. I'm still waiting for somebody to do a feature, write a column that actually looks at the actual calls that they've made and compare them to the regular officials. We make it seem like those regular officials don't make mistakes. Week in and week out, after a Sunday or a Monday, we're talking about the officials. Can you believe they missed that? But we're hypercritical because they're replacement officials. It's media-driven.
Integrity is the common thread and threshold the NFL constantly looks to maintain as they wish to uphold the honor and respect of their great game. However, if you listen to the players and coaches involved in the sport and the people who drive the gravy train of success for the league and the fans, they would paint a much different picture when it comes to assessing the performance of the replacement officials. However, a new report recently published by the Associated Press suggests that early criticism may not be fair. The NFL knows that the game management on the field is far from perfect or crystal clear, something they could have foreseen dealing with officials whose experience isn't typically at the highest of college levels. However, despite the criticism, the league shows no desire to return to the bargaining table to negotiate a new contract with their locked-out officials. We are going to continue to do everything possible to raise the level of performance of our current officials through training tapes, conference calls, and meetings, NFL spokesman Greg Aiello said Wednesday. The NFL also goes through the identical process with its regular officials. St. Louis Rams head coach Jeff Fisher, who also serves as a member of the NFL's competition committee, joined ESPN's Mike and Mike in the Morning on Wednesday to give his personal report card of the replacements. He says they're doing the best job they can under a difficult situation. However, he also concedes that it's been a difficult adjustment for everyone.
Let's just start right away. As a member of the NFL's competition committee for as long as you have been, clearly this is of particular concern to you. So much talk about the replacement officials, how it's gone, how it's changed the game. What have you observed through the first 2 weeks?
Well, the entire group's doing the best that they possibly can. I think we've seen some improvement from the preseason into the regular season. But, at the end of the day, we're all hopeful that they'll get this thing resolved. We got a great game, and we're missing the regular guys. At times things are difficult, but, as coaches, we just have to push through it.
And your own player, Cortland Finnegan, we commented on this earlier, just wanted to get your thoughts. He told the local paper, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, he likes the replacement refs because, quote, they just let you play football. They let you play football out there, which he thinks has been watered down. Now, we all know Finnegan's style of play a little bit, but have you observed that they are letting more things go than you might see in a normal situation?
Well, I think, that's going to be the case. That's the situation that we're in right now. Now, as far as letting things go, the replacements aren't used to our game. So as a result, there's some things that slip through the cracks. But, again, I think if we compare to where we are right now to early in the preseason, I think it's getting a little better.
After a less than impressive showing by the temporary rules enforcers, a point of emphasis to reestablish game control will be a focus for the league heading into the Week 3 slate of games. The temporary Zebras will be looking for unnecessary actions such as roughness penalties and unsportsmanlike conduct. Average time of game in 2012 is approximately 6 minutes longer than a year ago, and with only one overtime game in the first 2 weeks, the same as last year. The extra periods cannot be blamed for the elongated time it takes for the clock to hit triple zeros in the fourth quarter. However, the extended time it takes to properly administer penalties can be attributed as the cost for the elongated stint at the end of contests. The lead voice of NBC's Sunday Night Football, Al Michaels, also joined the Dan Patrick Show on Wednesday to discuss his thoughts on the state of officiating around the NFL, and he also took some time to comment on the remarks made by ESPN's Monday Night Football lead man, Mike Tirico, after he telecast the Monday Night Football debacle in Atlanta and took the officials to task.
When I'm watching Monday night and you saw the replacement officials, you would expect John Gruden to have something to say, but Mike Tirico, as the lead play-by-play voice for the mothership, he says this is an embarrassment. And it really, of all the things that were said during the game, that's the one that stood out because it was a play-by-play voice saying this. Have you ever gotten to the point where you give your opinion, a strong opinion like that? Is that your rule?
Well, I think it is. I think if you're there long enough, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mike, and why wouldn't Mike be as qualified as anybody to say something like that? And I mean, all you're really doing is you're reporting. I mean, you're throwing in a little editorial comment, but that's what they do in newspapers too. You write a game story with your opinion inside the story. I mean, everybody's doing that right now. You don't even have to be a columnist. And I've always thought that if the play-by-play announcer sees something, well, why not? And I thought that was very appropriate what Mike said. In fact, I felt the same way at that point. He said that somewhere, I believe, during either the end of the first quarter or the beginning of the second, when the quarter had lasted over an hour and the officials had lost control of the game. You had all kinds of administrative snafus. On balance, nothing was going very well. The game was extremely sloppy. And I thought it was a very appropriate comment to make, and I think people understand if somebody like a Mike Tirico or Joe Buck or Jim Nance or guys, Marv Albert, but guys who've been around for a long time. I mean, we've all been there. We've seen a lot of stuff, and I think it holds a lot of weight. I think Mike was right on point by saying what he said when he said it.
Where does the NFL and its officiating situation go from here, you ask? Well, the league and the NFL's Referees Association met for talks late this week. However, no significant progress was made towards a deal, and the NFL has scheduled the replacements to work through Week 5 of this season. Thus far, and according to ESPN's NFL insider Adam Schefter, don't expect the meter of progression to move towards a settlement anytime soon.
Now let's go on the field a little bit here, and from one extreme to the absolute opposite, of course, which would be the situation going on with the officials. Shefty, with all of the complaining that we heard coming from basically everywhere after week 2, does that have any impact whatsoever on some resolution to this lockout with the refs?
Not in the immediate future. Now, eventually it may. And if we see more of what we saw this weekend, which was a debacle, then I think the NFL has to come at it. But the NFL is so dug in on this, and it refuses to yield, and the officials have been dug in. And as of yesterday, there were no further talks planned. And again, it still has not ended in the result of a loss of a game. A bad call has not contributed that, although I think the fans in Baltimore might argue otherwise this past weekend. But again, had they blown the game against Seattle and Arizona from week 1, had it been more one-sided in terms of Baltimore, Philadelphia, there were some terrible calls there. You could say it certainly contributed, but it was just overall poor officiating all day. But I think this past weekend was the weekend that the officials got exposed. And they got exposed from the moment the day began when Chris Mortensen reported that one of the referees in the Saints-Panthers game was an unabashed Saints fan who on his Facebook page is posing in front of the Superdome with Saints pictures and his friends writing in, "Go get him today." So that was the start of the day. Then we went and saw what they did on the field, and it was an embarrassment. And I think Steve Young put it eloquently on Monday night that it doesn't affect the ratings right now. It doesn't affect people's interest in the game right now. Everybody's railing about it right now. But each side is so dug in that I don't know when this ends. And unfortunately, players and coaches are all miffed about it. The whole thing is very unfortunate.
I agree. We both agree, Greeny and I, with Steve Young and his assessment. Also with Mike Tirico when he said these officials by the players and coaches are getting treated like substitute teachers get treated. I think that's been accurate as well.
Emotions in sports are a customary intangible, especially when change is brewing at a simmering pace. With that being said, the NFL has employed substitute teachers wearing the pinstripes and donning the whistles. There has been plenty of criticism due to their performance on the field and in the administration. of the game. Coaches, fans, and players alike are all in an uproar, and the NFL and its stubborn negotiating nature could cost them the integrity and compromise the dignity of their beloved game. There's no doubt that the performance of the replacements leaves something to be desired. There have been missed calls, a lack of execution in the administration of the game, and a longer duration of getting things done on the field because the officials are caught in a rock and a hard place. These officials the NFL has chosen to entrust the administration of the game are now in the big boys league and now are in over their heads. There has been marginal improvement week to week, but certainly nothing to write home about. The NFL is dug in their stance of not wanting to give their regular officials a permanent pension plan, and they also want to ensure that the overall quality of officiating is improved. However, at the expense of that, they're making a mini circus and a sideshow, and if the officials have the replacements made mistakes, there's no doubt about it. Is there room for improvement? That goes without saying. Are both sides dug in this labor dispute between the league and the union? Are the officials showing a united front against the most powerful force in sports in the NFL? The answer to all of those questions is an affirmative yes. What the NFL is asking these replacement officials to do is basically go into war without basic training and sending them to the wolves and hoping they survive. There's no doubt that both players and coaches are working the system to see how much they can bend the rules. The NFL can send out memos warning their teams not to press the issue and try and take advantage of their second nature hand-me-downs in their referees' uniforms. Let's be honest here, these replacement officials are doing the very best they can do under a very difficult situation. Yes, it's frustrating to watch a game being prolonged because of administrative errors and inefficiencies. And it's equally as mind-boggling that the most powerful and influential league in all of professional sports is being so incredibly stubborn in their negotiating tactics with their top peacekeepers. However, in the famous words of Steve Young of ESPN, until people stop caring and watching the games, the NFL simply doesn't care. The moniker of player safety, integrity, and certainly popularity of the game is on solid footing with the fans. However, that may be compromised if this impasse continues. But it's time for the NFL and the Referees Association to put their differences aside, come back to the table, and hammer out a deal to ensure they're putting the best product from an athletic, coaching, and administrative level on the field. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, reports.